When I first came, it was just an active landfill site. It was not taking very much waste at the time because of other alternative sites, and it was being developed to take the whole of South Somerset's waste. When Carymoor was set up, it was in Portakabins where the building is behind us, and this area had been finished filling and was capped off but not fully restored. The idea was that Carymoor would take over the restoration and do something other than just returning it to farmland.
So here we are on top of the nature reserve. How does it feel to stand here now and see how much this landscape's changed from when it was a landfill site?
When Carymoor took this on, it was just clay. There was no topsoil on the site. It's an old military base, and they had taken the sort of topsoil away back in the 1940s when they built it. And so when we capped the site, it was just bare grey clay. And as you can see, the result after 30 years is profuse growth, hedge lines that has matured. We used compost in varying degrees in places, and we used one area where we did absolutely nothing. This is so much more productive in the sense of what you do with a landfill site, rather than just returning it to poor grade agriculture.
I know for the initial Carymoor ecologist, for him to have essentially a completely blank canvas to start from, because it was just like a moonscape. There was just clay everywhere. Yeah. And so to be able to develop and design that sort of mosaic of different habitats is probably not something you get to do very often as an ecologist.
But Carymoor was designed around that. Hamish Craig's original concept, which he and I discussed, was that we would have somewhere where we could create nature reserves that weren't protected and weren't fragile, so that children could come and look at them and could see the nature in its own habitats. 30 odd years ago, cowslips were so rare on the site that the county councillor came in and the press arrived and filmed her digging the cowslips out to translocate them where we were going to be digging ourselves. And it was an area about this big, and that was it. Now you've got cowslips almost everywhere.
They have spread right across the site, and this is sort of a translocated bank. So this is, I believe, a lot of the grassland that was saved before Dimmer 2 was excavated, and some of the good grassland was cut out and laid as turf on the bank here to preserve it. So this is some of the better grassland on the site. I think one of the things that's really important about Carymoor is just the contrast really between its industrial past and the nature now. So you get infrastructure like this where you've got gas wells, you've got all of the liquid waste that's settling to the bottom of the site, the leachate that has to be processed. So you have that infrastructure, and I think that's a really important part of walking around the nature reserve. You don't simply want to be putting this waste literally under the carpet and sweeping it away. It's really important that people understand what they're walking on, and that legacy of treating the pollution in the site goes on for many decades afterwards.
And I think it's interesting that it's showing, because if you took it away, this would be an interesting and lovely site, but it wouldn't have the context of the fact that it was a brownfield site and we are standing on 20 metres of mostly domestic waste.
That's what's unusual really within the waste industry is early on there was that vision to recognise that the place could be such a catalyst for change in terms of children coming here, seeing the landfill, but also then spending time in nature.
This was a beneficial site to do it on. And then there was the Wildlife Trust local guy, Hamish Craig, who was an ex-teacher and really loved the idea of being able to teach children about wildlife and about sustainability and about waste, I think. So it was a kind of, coming together of a lot of circumstances.